I'm content creator Cori Walmsley. I empower women entrepreneurs by sharing book writing and publishing solutions on my show, Page Turner's Studio with Cori. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Page Turner's Studio with Cori. I'm your host, Cori Walmsley. I'm CEO of Aurora Coriolis Publishing, where I get to help amazing people who have stories of transformation that they want to share. I work with a lot of coaches and speakers who want to get their stories out and help other people and change their lives. I'm also a writing coach and an award-winning author of 10 books. So you're in the right spot if you want to talk about books and business. Today's show is How to Cultivate Happiness with soul healer Dr. Rita Louise. And this is going to be another super fun show. I always have the best guests on. I get so excited about these people. So I can't wait for you to meet Dr. Rita. But first, I want to mention that my newest book, The Treasures We Seek, is out. It is available now. You can go to the link there below me if you want to pick up a wonderful read about a transformational story that's actually fiction. And this one takes place in Italy, so you get to do a little bit of travel. It would be great for your summer vacation. So make sure you grab a copy. And also, if you are thinking about a book yourself, you definitely need a journal. So make sure you grab one of our journals. These are a couple samples that we have. The paintings are done by me or my daughter, and they are 200-page journals. So nice thick journals, but they're also small enough that you can just throw it in your purse or keep it in your car for all those brilliant ideas you get when you're out and about. So let me introduce you to Dr. Rita Louise. She's the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics and former host of Just Energy Radio. She's the author of several books, including Dang, It Was Me All Along. Dr. Rita has appeared on film, radio, and television, and she had the best line in her bio, so I'm going to have to tell you this before we bring her up. Quote, Fran Drescher's delivery without the wine, unquote, is how one audience member put Dr. Rita Louise's frank, funny, yet honest approach. So I think you're really going to enjoy her. Dr. Rita, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Cori, and thanks for sharing that line. And it really is a true story that an audience member came up and was talking to me and made that comment, and I'm like, I am so stealing that. And it has followed me for years.
That's too funny. And it's such a vivid description of who you are. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I wanted to start things off by talking about your book, which I love the title and I love the cover for this. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write this book.
Okay, I have to make a very long story very short. So too many relationships with narcissistic people. Thought I had wrote a book called The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist, where I thought I had solved all of my relationship issues, which was a not. Ended that relationship and just realized that the only one in the mirror was me. And the relationship ended and I was just in a really bad place. COVID had just was winding down and all I wanted was to be happy. But I wasn't sure if that was something you could attain or if who you were and what you were on the inside was, the luck of the draw and you were just stuck with it. And so that kind of set me on this journey to find out if you could cultivate happiness. And the answer I found was, you can.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a couple of the secrets from the book? How do you cultivate happiness?
So it's kind of, to make it in a very short nutshell, there's two parts. One is deciding that happiness is the most important thing in your life. And so if you're doing things that aren't making you happy, then you need to stop and pay attention to what's going on, whether it's what's going on inside of you, what's going on around you, and make a choice that my happiness is the most important thing. And I know that sounds really narcissistic, but there are so many people that walk around miserable doing things they don't want to do every day. And until you make that commitment to yourself, things will never change.
Yeah, I love that. And that leads us perfectly into your impactful page turner share, which is happiness is possible if you're willing to cultivate it as a practice. What are some things that you do like daily that help you cultivate happiness?
So, I mean, one thing that I do I try to do all the time is just to pay attention to what's going on inside of me. So if I'm upset or I'm worried about something, it's like, oh, I'm worried about something or I'm having anxiety. And my newest thing is I'm overthinking. It could be I'm overthinking this really cool thing that I'm working,
Mhm.
but it's still taking me out of that peaceful place.
Okay.
And then to stop and then maybe do some breathing exercises or go to the gym. I like the rowing machine. Go to the gym and work out, you know, clean my house. I will admit, clean my house. But do things to focus my attention on something to shift me out of that anxiety or worry or bad feeling that I might be experiencing.
Yeah, those are great tips. I love that. And I know cleaning your house can be therapeutic as much as we avoid doing it. So I wanted to share your being a page turner tip. And this has to do with, I imagine a lot of stuff that we share, emails, books, social media copy, all that kind of stuff. Spell check, the ability to be patient, read and reread until it feels right. So tell me a little bit about how you discovered this.
So I'm a little dyslexic. So spell check is in college, I would get papers back, and some would overlook my bad spelling, and other ones would like mark me off for every spelling mistake. And it's like, I can't look every word up in the dictionary. Sorry,
Right.
it's not happening. So spell check is, ooh, um, you write something and you read through it and you think you made the corrections, but then you put it down for a little while and you read through it again. It's like, well, that doesn't really flow right. Or I
Mhm.
repeated this word 50 times in 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And it gives you the opportunity to just reassess what's going on.
Yeah. I think that that space that you mentioned, you put it down. So you're not just sitting there rereading and rereading and rereading because it's cycling through in your brain and you know what you wrote. You have to give yourself almost like time to forget what you wrote and then come back to it.
Well, and I've had that situation with other books that I've written, that, well, one, I'll sit there and go, hey, this book is pretty good. But then I find, not spelling mistakes, but where it doesn't flow as nice as I like, or I could have used a different word. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to like re-release the book,
Yeah.
but
That's why you're not supposed to reread it after it's already out.
sometimes I have to remind myself of of what I'm talking about. So
That's true. All right, so this is the turn the page with Cori tip. Even if your story isn't joyful, you can still find joy in the fact that sharing your story will help others. So write with that energy. And I know you shared a little bit of your story that kind of led you to this path to happiness. I find that a lot of people have, some real garbage that happens in their lives, and sometimes they want to write about that. Did you find any sort of exercises or any techniques when you were writing to kind of put aside any of the garbage that had happened and be like, all right, I'm focusing on this is going to help people?
I mean, I usually write with this is going to help people, but
Okay.
I'm going to shift that a little bit.
Yeah.
So in my last book, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist, I really do what I'm led to. And
Mhm.
I just kept getting this, you need to write your story. You need to take and write all that trash and put it in the book. That was the caveat. And put it in the book. It was the most liberating thing I have ever done. Because now it's kind of like I don't really care. I can talk about the trash because like now millions of readers can read about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how therapeutic the writing can be too. Just getting that story out, it's like sometimes it's almost like it's a good cry, right? Like you sit down and you start writing this stuff. Is that how you felt?
Multiple times with some of the stories.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I wanted to share the make an impact tip with Cori. Loving the journey lets you honor all the tweaks, changes, and adjustments you need to make while your book is in production. And I think this is something that we can kind of apply to everything. Like, you have to kind of love your journey, because you're going to get nudged this way and nudged this way and smacked in the head a few times as you're going through the path. But especially when you're working on a book, you're going to have little hurdles. You're going to have, your cover designer might say, hey, I can't get the image that we were trying to find. We're going to have to go with something else. You might have your editor sit down and say, I was reading this and I really need you to work on this a little bit more. How did you handle all of the tweaks and the nudges and all of that when you were in production for your books?
So it was me or me or me or me. And so, but I do argue with myself a lot.
That's good.
And terrible as this sounds, I would go on Facebook and I would, put, these are some, here's a little description of the book. These are some titles I'm playing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some really great feedback. Like I had kind of got it narrowed down to the dang, it was me all along. But then someone made the comment, put an exclamation point after the dang and a question mark after it was me all along. And it just shifted the narrative and really locked in like what the image needed to be. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah, those are really good tweaks. So I know a lot of times we just kind of leave our titles open-ended with, interpretation. But that was something I had noticed about your title. Like, okay, she's got punctuation in here. That makes it read completely differently, because it also, it opens you up to like, it was me, like, really? And then it lets you kind of flow into that. Okay, well, how and why? And can we fix this?
And that's what the whole book is about. And I hope that my journey, it's not a memoir, although I do share a lot of personal stories, helps other people cultivate happiness in their lives.
I love that. Awesome. Well, if you could share one more thing, whether it's a tip about writing or a tip from your business, what do you want the reader or the readers, the listeners to know while we wrap up?
I think the biggest thing is for them to know that happiness is possible, and the work required, the journey required is not hard. I thought it would be this overwhelming, you have to do all of these things. And it turned out to be, I don't want to say a nothing burger, but it became a practice, like going to the gym. Going to the gym is a practice. It's something you do regularly. And so 6 months, huge changes. Work this process with other people, 6 months, huge changes. That's not that long.
No, it's really not. And I love that it's, when people like you are sharing stories about how you've achieved these things, it makes it that much more possible for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was wonderful having you on, and I loved learning about your book. Here, I'm going to pop that up again so everybody can take a look, and make sure that you go over, can get stuff up on the screen faster than I can think it. Make sure that you can head over to Amazon and grab a copy of this. Thank you, Dr. Rita. It was wonderful having you on here.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to send you back to the green room and we will wrap up. So thanks again for joining me today for Page Turner Studio with Cori. We are on every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, and oops, I need to pop up my other thing. There it is. At 7 a.m. Pacific and 9 a.m. Central, and we'll be featuring another fantastic guest. So in the meantime, have a Page Turner's Day. You can learn more about my services and products at auroracoriolispublishing.com. Make sure to join me every week on the SWE Media Network YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.